Hello friends, welcome to Premier UPSC IAS. So let's continue with the modern history lectures for prelims UPSC IAS. So today we are going to discuss from the emergence of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, early life of MK Gandhi. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, born on October 2nd, 1869 in Porbandar in the erstwhile princely state of Kathiawar in Gujarat. He studied law in England and in 1898 he went to South Africa in connection with a case involving his client Dada Abdullah. There he witnessed the ugly face of the white racism and the humiliation and contempt Asians had to face who came as laborers. He took up the cause of these laborers and decided to stay in South Africa to organize and enable them to fight for their rights. He stayed there till 1914, after which he returned to India. His struggle in South Africa. First phase, moderate phase of struggle from 1898 to 1906. Gandhi sent petitions and memorials to the authorities in South Africa during this period. He hoped that once the authorities were informed of the plight of Indians, they would take sincere steps to redress their grievances as the Indians were British subjects. For this purpose, he set up the Natal Indian Congress and started a paper Indian Opinion. However, his petitions and writings fell on deaf ears, so he took the next step in his struggle. Second phase, passive resistance or satyagraha, 1906 to 1914. It was characterized by the use of method of passive resistance, which Gandhi named satyagraha. He initiated a satyagraha against the registration certificates 1906 when a new law in South Africa made it compulsory for Indians living there to carry certificates of registration with their fingerprints all the time. Gandhi persuaded Indians not to submit to this discriminatory measure and formed the Passive Resistance Association to conduct the campaign for defying the law. Mass agitation against the government. The Satyagraha or devotion to truth took birth as the technique of resisting adversaries without violence. The government reacted and jailed Gandhi and others who refused to register themselves. The Indians publicly burnt their registration certificates and this showed up the South African government in a bad light and a compromise settlement was arrived at. The campaign was now expanded to include a protest against the legislation which imposed restrictions on Indian migration. According to it, crossing over from one province to another was restricted without licenses. Indians defied the law and refused to produce licenses. They also initiated a demand for the abolition of a poll tax of £3, which was imposed on all ex-indentured Indians. They also protested against a Supreme Court order which invalidated all marriages not conducted according to Christian rites and registered by the Registrar of Marriages. The judgment was seen as an insult to the honor of women, thus many women were drawn into the movement because of this indignity. The Indians also protested the Transvaal Immigration Act. It was at this time G.K. Gokhale toured India for mobilizing public opinion in support of the Indians in South Africa. Finally, a compromise was to be arrived at. Negotiations began with Gandhi also participated by Lord Hardinge, C.F. Andrews and General Smuts. An agreement was reached by the government of South Africa. They considered the Indian demands relating to the poll tax, the registration certificates and marriages solemnized according to the Indian rites. They also promised to treat the issue of Indian immigration in a sympathetic manner. Then Gandhi returned to India in January 1915. Gandhi in India. Gandhi's effort in South Africa became popular in India through newspaper coverage not only among the educated but also among the masses. After his return, he decided to tour the country the next year on the advice of his political mentor G.K. Gokhale to know the condition of the masses. He expressed the limitations of moderate politics and also rejected Home Rule League movements. According to him, it was not the best time to agitate for home rule when Britain was in the middle of a war. He started the propagation of non-violent satyagraha and was involved in three struggles in Champaran, in Ahmedabad, and in Kheda. Champaran Satyagraha 1917. It was the first civil disobedience. A local by name Rajkumar Shukla requested Gandhi to visit and look into the problems of the indigo farmers in Champaran in Bihar. The European planters forced the peasants to grow indigo on 3 by 20 part of the total land which was called Tinkatia system. With the coming of German synthetic dyes, indigo was replaced and the European planters demanded high rents and illegal dues from the peasants in order to maximize their profits. They were forced to sell the produce at prices fixed by the Europeans. Gandhi reached Champaran to probe into the matter. He was joined by the following leaders in Champaran: Rajendra Prasad, Mazharul Haq, Mahadev Desai, Narahari Parekh, and J.B. Kripalani. The authorities ordered him to leave the area, but he defied the order and preferred to face the punishment. The authorities retreated and appointed a committee to go into the matter and nominated Gandhi as a member to make an inquiry. Gandhi argued for abolishing Tinkariya system and the peasants to be compensated for the illegal dues. As a compromise, he agreed for only 25% of the money taken to be compensated from the planters. Champaran Satyagraha was successful. Ahmedabad mill strike of 1918. It was the first hunger strike by Gandhi. In 1918, a dispute broke out between cotton mill owners of Ahmedabad and the workers over the issue of discontinuation of the plague bonus. The mill owners wanted to withdraw the bonus, but the workers were demanding increase by 50% in their wages. There was wartime inflation caused by the Britain's involvement in the World War One. The mill owners, however, were ready to give only a 20% wage hike. Anusuya Sarabhai, the sister of Ambalal Sarabhai, one of the mill owners, supported the workers' cause as she was also a social worker. She approached Gandhi to intervene and help resolve the impasse. Gandhi reached Ahmedabad and asked the workers to go on a strike. He advised them to demand a 35% increase in wages instead of 50%. He also advised them to remain non-violent. When the mill owner didn't budge, he himself undertook a fast unto death to strengthen the workers' resolve. The mill owners, who finally agreed to submit the issue to a tribunal, and the tribunal awarded the workers a 35% wage hike. The strike was then withdrawn. Thus, his other struggle was also successful. Kheda Satyagraha. In 1918, there was a drought in Gujarat and the crops had failed in Kheda district. According to the revenue code, if the yield was less than 25% of the normal produce, the farmers were to be given remission of the taxes. The Gujarat Sabha of the peasants required revenue assessment for the year 1919 to be suspended. The government was unwilling to accept the request and ordered to seize the property of the farmers if the tax was not paid. Gandhi intervened and asked the farmers not to pay the taxes. Gandhi acted only as a spiritual leader. It was mainly Sardar Patel and the other Gandhian leaders such as Narahari Parekh, Mohanlal Pandya, and Ravi Shankar Vyas who went around the villages, organized the villages, and gave the necessary political leadership. They organized a tax revolt, and people showed the remarkable discipline and unity. Even when the government seized the farmers' personal property, most of the farmers did not desert Sardar Patel, and those who sought to buy the confiscated lands were socially ostracized. The government finally came to an agreement with the farmers. The tax was suspended for 2 years and reduced the increase in rate and returned all the confiscated property. The struggle at Kheda awakened the peasantry. Rowlatt Act. Just 6 months before the Montfort reforms, a new law called the Anarchical and Revolutionary Crimes Act was passed in March 1919. It was popularly called the Rowlatt Act because it was based on the recommendations of the Rowlatt Commission headed by British judge by name Sir Sidney Rowlatt. Aim was to investigate seditious conspiracy of the Indian people, and it provided for deporting or imprisoning activists without trial for 2 years. The elected Indian members of the Imperial Legislative Council voted against the bill, but they were overruled by the official nominees. All the elected Indian members resigned in protest. Provisions of the Rowlatt Act. It allowed for the political activists to be tried without juries or even imprisoned without trial. They could be arrested without a warrant on the mere suspicion of treason and could be tried in secrecy without recourse to legal help. A special cell with three High Court judges was to try such suspects, and there was no court of appeal above that panel. Indians felt betrayed over the Montfort reforms with its very limited scope and the shockingly repressive Rowlatt Act. Gandhi called it the Black Act. Satyagraha against the Rowlatt Act 1919. This was the mass protest by Gandhi at all India level. He organized a Satyagraha Sabha and roped in younger members of Home Rule Leagues and Pan-Islamists. A nationwide hartal or strike along with fasting and prayer and civil disobedience against the specific laws and courting arrest and imprisonment were chosen as forms of protest. Satyagraha was to begin on April 6, 1919, but before that, large-scale violent anti-British demonstrations broke out in Calcutta, Bombay, Delhi, etc. The situation in Punjab became so very explosive due to wartime repression and the army had to be called in. Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Amritsar was worst affected by violence. Indians in protest shut down their shops to show displeasure at the British betrayal. In the protest meetings, Saifuddin Kislew and Dr. Satyapal were arrested by the British officials without any provocation and were taken to some unknown destination under the Rowlatt Act on April 9th. People came out in thousands on April 10 to show their solidarity with their leaders. It soon turned violent because the police resorted to firing, in which some of the protesters were killed and five Englishmen were also killed. Brigadier General Reginald Dyer was given the responsibility to impose martial law and restore order. He issued a proclamation on April 13 forbidding people from leaving the city without a pass and from organizing demonstrations or processions or assembling in groups of more than three. But it was Baisakhi festival and a large crowd unaware of the prohibitory orders in the city gathered in the Jallianwala Bagh, a popular place for public events to celebrate the festival. In the gathering, some political Protestants passed two resolutions for the repeal of the Rowlatt Act and the other condemning the firing on April 10. General Dyer arrived on the scene, blocked the only exit point, and opened the fire on the unarmed crowd without issuing any warning. Indian National Congress estimated that more than 1,500 were injured and approximately 1,000 were killed. According to the official account, 1,650 bullets were fired in the crowd. Martial law was proclaimed in Punjab and severe humiliations were perpetrated on the people. Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood. Gandhi gave up the title of Kaisar-e-Hind. Overwhelmed by the violent atmosphere, Gandhi withdrew the movement on April 18, 1919. After the Amritsar incident, Gandhi declared that cooperation with a satanic regime was now impossible. Hunter Commission. The massacre shocked everyone. The Secretary of State for India, Edwin Montagu, formed a Disorders Inquiry Committee, also known as popularly as Hunter Commission, after the name of Chairman Lord William Hunter. The aim was to investigate the disturbances in Bombay, Delhi, and Punjab, about their causes and the measures to be taken to cope with them. The commission has three Indian members: Sir Chimanlal Harilal Setalwad, Pandit Jagat Narayan, and Sardar Sahibzada Sultan Ahmad Khan. The committee unanimously condemned the Dyer's actions. However, the Hunter Committee did not impose any penal or disciplinary action because Dyer's actions were condoned by various superiors. Dyer was found guilty of a mistaken notion of duty and relieved of his command in March 1920 and dismissed from army. Strangely, though, the clergy of the Golden Temple honored the Dyer by declaring him a Sikh. This was one of the reasons to demand to reform the management of the Sikh shrines rose. Therefore, Gurudwara reform movement was launched. This movement has already been discussed in reform movements. Revenge by Uddam Singh. Uddam Singh, also known as Ram Muhammad Singh Azad, later assassinated Michael O'Dwyer, the lieutenant governor. Michael O'Dwyer had presided over the brutal British suppression of the 1919 protests in Punjab. He was hanged in 1940 and his remains were returned to India in 1974. Khilafat and non-cooperation movement. Khilafat and non-cooperation movement. After the First World War, because Turkey sided with Germany, the British took a stern attitude and Turkey was dismembered and the Khalifa was removed from the power. This angered the Muslims all over the world. In India, too, Muslims demanded the British to let Khalifas control over Muslim sacred places. A Khilafat committee was formed in 1919 under the leadership of the following leaders: Ali brothers, Shaukat Ali and Muhammad Ali, Maulana Azad, Ajmal Khan, Hazrat Mohani, All India Khilafat Conference, 1919. They demanded the British government to change its attitudes towards Turkey. They limited their actions to meetings, petitions, deputations in favor of the Khilafat. Not satisfied with the efforts a militant trend emerged, they demanded an active agitation and called for stopping all cooperation with the British. An All India Khilafat conference was held in Delhi in November 1919. A call was made for the boycott of British goods. Gandhi became the president of the All India Khilafat Committee, and the Khilafat issue became as a platform to unite the masses and to declare united non-cooperation against the government. A call was made for the boycott of British goods. Gandhi supported the Khilafat issue. The Congress was not united on this form of political action. Tilak was opposed to having an alliance with Muslim leaders over a religious issue, and he was also skeptical of Satyagraha as an instrument of politics. Gandhi persuaded Tilak about the efficiency of Satyagraha and the need for an alliance with the Muslim community. Thus, he was able to get the approval of the Congress for his program of political action, and the Congress supported the movement. The Muslim League also gave full support to the Congress and its agitation on political questions. In February 1920, a joint deputation was sent to the Viceroy to seek the redressal of grievances on the issue of Khilafat. He announced to lead a movement of non-cooperation if the terms of the peace treaty failed to satisfy the Indian Muslims. In May 1920, a Treaty of Sevres was signed with Turkey and it completely dismembered Turkey. All-Party Conference of 1920. Therefore, in June 1920, an all-party conference at Allahabad approved a program to boycott the schools, colleges, and law courts. Gandhi was asked to lead in. On August 30, the Khilafat Committee launched a campaign of non-cooperation and the movement was formally launched. A special session of Congress in Calcutta approved the non-cooperation program. The participants were instructed to work for Hindu-Muslim unity and for removal of untouchability all the time remaining non-violent. Endorsed in Nagpur session 1920. In December 1920, the Nagpur session of the Indian National Congress also endorsed the program of non-cooperation. An important change was made in the Congress as the goal was changed from the attainment of the self-government through constitutional means to the attainment of Swaraj through peaceful and legitimate means, thus committing self itself to an extra-constitutional mass struggle. Several revolutionaries also pledged to support the Congress program. Some leaders such as Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Annie Besant, G.S. Kharpade left the Congress as they believed in a constitutional and lawful struggle, while some others like Surendranath Banerjee founded the Indian National Liberal Foundation. Spread of the movements. The movement spread nationwide. Thousands of students left government schools and colleges and joined the movement. Swadeshi schools and colleges were organized by the nationalists, opened up to cater to the educational needs. Foreign clothes were burned publicly. The shops selling foreign liquor were picketed. Tilak died just before the launch of the movement in August 1920. In his memory, Tilak Swaraj Fund was established. People contributed to it and 1 crore rupees was collected. Congress volunteer corps acted as a parallel police. Ali brothers gave call upon the Muslim soldiers to resign from the army as it was unreligious. Gandhi asked local Congress committees to pass similar resolutions to the effect. Congress also gave a call to local Congress bodies to start civil disobedience. A no tax movement against the union board taxes was already going on in several places such as Midnapur in Bengal and in Guntur in Andhra. J. M. Sengupta led the strikes in tea plantations in Assam. Even the visit of the Prince of Wales was welcomed with strikes and demonstrations. The movement gave rise to the many local struggles such as Awadh Kisan Movement UP, Eka Movement UP, Mapila Revolt Malabar, and the Sikh agitation for the removal of Mahant in Punjab. Gandhi and Viceroy's reading talks were unsuccessful. The government wanted Gandhi to urge the Ali brothers to remove the portions from the speeches which suggested violence. Gandhi realized the divide and rule policy of the British, that they were trying to drive a wedge between him and the Khilafat leaders. He refused to fall into the trap. The government cracked down heavily on the protesters. The volunteer corps were declared illegal. Public meetings were banned. Most of the leaders barring Gandhi were arrested. Last phase of the movement, 1922. All the Congress leaders urged Gandhi to launch the civil disobedience program. The Congress session of 1921 conducted in Ahmedabad was presided over by C.R. Das while still in jail. Hakim Ajmal Khan was the acting president. The session appointed Gandhi the sole authority on the issue. Gandhi threatened to launch civil disobedience from Bardoli in Gujarat on 1st February 1922. He put forth two demands. Political prisoners were to be released and press controls were to be removed. Chauri Chaura incident of 1922. A small village near Gorakhpur in United Provinces was involved in an incident of violence on February 5, 1922. The police had beaten up the leader of a group of volunteers in the village who was campaigning against the liquor sale and high food prices. The crowd was fired upon. The crowd became agitated and burned the police station with policemen inside. 22 policemen were killed in the incident. Gandhi was already wary of the increasingly violent trend of the movement. After this incident, he immediately announced the withdrawal of the non-cooperation movement. Soon the Congress Working Committee met at Bardoli and passed a resolution to stop all activity that led to the breaking of law. It asked all the participants to get down to constructive work, including the popularization of Khadi, national schools, and campaigning for temperance, for Hindu-Muslim unity, and against the untouchability. Several leaders expressed bewilderment over the withdrawal of the movement, but Gandhi felt people had not learned or fully understood the method of non-violence. Gandhi was arrested and sentenced to 6 years in jail in March 1922 for leading the movement. Swarajists and no changes. Swarajists. Gandhi's arrest in March 1922 led to the disintegration, disorganization, and demoralization among the nationalist ranks. There was a debate on what to do during the transition period. Some leaders wanted the boycott and join legislative councils so as to expose the basic weaknesses of these assemblies. They wanted to use these councils as an arena of political struggle to arouse popular enthusiasm. These leaders came to be known as Swarajists, such as C.R. Das, Motilal Nehru, and Ajmal Khan. No changes. There was another group of leaders who thought otherwise and were called the no changers, such as C. Rajagopalachari, Vallabhbhai Patel, Rajendra Prasad, and M.A. Ansari. The no changers opposed the council entry and wanted to concentrate on the constructive work. They wanted to continue boycott and non-cooperation and make quiet preparations for the resumption of the suspended civil disobedience program. Conflict between the Swarajists and the no changers. The issue of entry in the legislative councils was voted upon at the Congress session in 1922 held at Gaya. The Swarajists' proposal of ending or mending the councils was defeated. C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru resigned from the post of president and secretary and formed the Swarajist party. Both wanted to avoid a split in the Congress like in 1907 and accepted the need for Gandhi's leadership and a united nationalist front. They reached a compromise was made at meeting in Delhi in September 1923. Swarajists in council. The Swarajists could contest elections as a group within the Congress. The elections were held in December 1923. Swarajists managed to win 42 out of the 141 elected seats. They also got a clear majority in the Provincial Assembly of Central Provinces. In legislatures, they cooperated with the liberals and the independents like Jinnah and Malviya and got a majority. The government tried to divide the Swarajists and they were successful. The more militant from the moderate, the Hindus from the Muslims. Division among Swarajists. The party got divided into responsivists and non-responsivists over the issue of the communal riots. The Swarajists did not support the tenants' cause against the zamindars in Bengal, and most of the tenants were Muslims. The party lost the support of Muslims. The death of C.R. Das in 1925 weakened it further. The responsivists among Swarajists included the following: Lala Lajpat Rai, Madan Mohan Malaviya, and M.C. Kelkar. They advocated cooperation with the government and holding of office wherever possible. The responsivists accused leaders such as Motilal Nehru of being anti-Hindu. The main leadership of the Swarajists withdrew from legislatures in March 1926, but the other group took part in the elections of 1926. Despite the split, the Swarajists outvoted the government several times, even on matters relating to budgetary grants, and passed the adjournment motions. They made powerful speeches on self-government, civil liberties, and industrialization in the legislatures. Achievements of the Swarajis. Vitalbhai Patel was elected as a Speaker of the Central Legislative Assembly in 1925. Moreover, they were the cause of the defeat of the Public Safety Bill in 1928. This bill was aimed at empowering the government to deport undesirable and subversive foreigners. It was introduced because the government was alarmed by the spread of socialist and communist ideas. They believed that a crucial role was being played by the British and other foreign activists being sent by the Comintern. They exposed the hollow nature of the Montfort reforms and demonstrated that the councils could be used creatively. Constructive work by no changers. While the Swarajists were involved in the councils, the no changers were engaged in constructive work with different sections of the masses. Several ashrams came up where men and women worked along with the tribals and lower castes to popularize the use of charkha and khadi. National schools and colleges were set up. Significant work was done for removing untouchability in Hindu-Muslim unity and for flood relief. These workers served as the backbone during the next phase in civil disobedience as active organizers. Impact of Marxism. Spread of the Marxist and socialist ideas. Several young leaders of the period in India were inspired by the Marxist ideas, including Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose. They were inspired by the Soviet Revolution and were critical of the methods of Swarajists and no changers. They advocated a more critical anti-imperialist line and wanted Purna Swaraj, that is, complete independence. M.N. Roy, Abani Mukherjee, and others founded the Communist Party of India (CPI) in 1920 in Tashkent after the Second Congress of Comintern. M.N. Roy was also elected to the leadership of the Comintern. Many communists such as S.A. Dange, Muzaffar Ahmad, Shaukat Usmani, Nalini Gupta were arrested in the Kanpur Bolshevik conspiracy case in 1924. Indian Communist Conference at Kanpur formalized the foundation of the CPI in 1925. Alarmed by the growth of communist activities, the government cracked down on them in 1929. It resulted in the arrest and trial of 31 leading communist, trade unionist, and left-wing leaders and came to be called the Meerut conspiracy case. The communists organized the workers and peasants all over the country to propagate Marxist and communist ideas. Students and peasants. Students' leagues came to be established all over the country. Jawaharlal Nehru presided over one such All Bengal Students' Conference in 1928. Peasants agitated in different regions for revision of tenancy laws, lower rents, protection against eviction, and relief from indebtedness. In 1928, one such peasant satyagraha was led by Vallabhbhai Patel in Bardoli of Gujarat. There were similar peasant agitations in the Rampa region of Andhra, in Rajasthan, in Rayotwari areas of Bombay and Madras. Growth of trade union. All India Trade Union Congress (AITUC) was founded in 1920. Lala Lajpat Rai was its first president and Diwan Chavan Lal was its general secretary. It led the trade union movement across India. The first May Day was celebrated in 1923 as a Labour Day in Madras. They organized major strikes in 1920s decade Some of the important ones include strikes of Kharagpur railway workshops, Tata Iron and Steel Works in Jamshedpur, Bombay textile mills, and Buckingham Carnatic mills. According to one estimate, in 1928, there were a number of strikes involving 5 lakh workers. Second phase of the revolutionaries. Second phase of revolutionary activity. The revolutionaries of the first phase we discussed already faced severe repression during the First World War, but they were released in the early 1920s under a general amnesty to create a harmonious environment for the Montfort reforms to work. They participated in the non-violent non-cooperation movement, but the sudden withdrawal of the movement by Gandhi left many of them disillusioned. They were not attracted to the parliamentary work of the Swarajists or the constructive work of the No Changers. Two strands of revolutionary groups emerged, one from Punjab, UP, Bihar, and the other in Bengal. Revolutionaries activities in Punjab Hindustan Republican Association 1924. In Punjab, the revolutionary activity was dominated by the Hindustan Republican Association HRA. It was founded in the year of 1924 in Kanpur by the following leaders: Ram Prasad Bismil, Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee, and Sachin Sanyal. The aim was to organize an armed revolution to overthrow the colonial government and establish in its place the Federal Republic of United States of India, whose basic principles would be an adult franchise. It was later named Hindustan Socialist Republic Association HSRA. Kakori robbery of 1925. One of the most important revolutionary activity of the period was the Kakori robbery in August 1925. They held up the 8 down train at Kakori, a village near Lucknow, and looted the official railway cash. Government alarmed by the action and immediately cracked down the Kakori robbery. They arrested many people connected, of whom 17 were jailed, 4 transported for life, while Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashwaqullah, Roshan Singh, and Rajendra Lahiri were hanged. Kakori was a big setback for the revolutionaries. They were determined to overcome the Kakori setback and inspired by socialist ideas. Hence, they organized the HRA as the Hindustan Socialist Republic Association HSRA. It was led by Chandrasekhar Azad at a historic meeting in the Feroz Shah Kotla in Delhi, September 1928. They adopted socialism as an official goal. The prominent participants were Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Bhagwati Charan Vohra from Punjab, and Bejoy Kumar Sinha, Shiv Verma, and Jaidev Kapoor from the United Provinces. Saunders murder. In a procession against the Simon Commission, Lala Lajpat Rai was lathi charged upward by Saunders. Bhagat Singh Azad and Rajguru shot dead Saunders in Lahore. They now decided to tell people about its changed objectives and the need for a revolution by the masses. Bhagat Singh and Batukeshwar Dutt took upon themselves to throw a bomb in the Central Legislative Assembly on April 8, 1929 to show their protest against the Public Safety Bill and Trade Disputes Bill. The bombs were deliberately thrown such that they made no harm to others and were aimed at making the deaf hear. Action against the revolutionaries. Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, and Rajguru were arrested and tried in the Lahore conspiracy case, and a series of other cases were filed against many other revolutionaries and jailed them. In the jail as well, they protested against the horrible conditions through fasting and demanded honorable and decent treatment as political prisoners. In the hunger protest, Jatin Das became the first martyr on the 64th day of his fast. Azad was tried to blow up Viceroy Irwin's train near Delhi in December 1929. On failure, he escaped from there. In 1930, the revolutionaries were involved in a series of violent actions in Punjab and towns of the United Provinces. There were 26 incidents in Punjab alone. Azad died in a police encounter in a park in Allahabad in February 1931. On March 23, 1931, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, and Rajguru were hanged. Revolutionary activities in Bengal. In Bengal, many revolutionaries cooperated with C.R. Das in his Swarajist work. After his death in 1925, the Bengal Congress broke up into two factions, one led by J. Sen Gupta, supported by Anushilan Group, and the other led by Subhash Bose, supported by Yugantar Group. One of them, Gopinath Saha, made an assassination attempt on the notorious Calcutta Police Commissioner Charles Tegart. The government cracked down heavily on revolutionaries and arrested many, including Subhash Bose, were arrested. Gopinath Saha was hanged. Chittagong Armory Raid 1930. Soon the revolutionaries of Bengal started regrouping. One of the prominent among the new revolt groups, the most active, was the Chittagong groups under Surya Sen. Surya Sen had also participated in the non-cooperation movement like others. He was a teacher in the National School of Chittagong and also worked as secretary of the Chittagong District Congress Committee. He organized an armed rebellion with Anant Singh, Ganesh Ghosh, and Loknath Baul to show that it was possible to challenge the might of the British Empire. Their aim was to occupy two main armories in Chittagong, to seize and supply arms to the revolutionaries, to destroy telephone and telegraph lines, and to dislocate the railway link of Chittagong with the rest of Bengal. The conducted they conducted a raid in April 1930 with 65 activists under the banner of Indian Republic Army Chittagong branch. The raid was successful. They hoisted the national flag, took the salute, and proclaimed provisional revolutionary government. Surya Sen was arrested in February 1933 and hanged in January 1934, but he inspired one and many women revolutionaries. Under his leadership, several women also took up revolutionary activities. Prominent women were the following. Prithilata Vadedar died conducting a raid. Kalpana Dutt, who was arrested and tried along with Surya Sen, she was given a life sentence. Santi Ghosh and Suniti Chandheri were two schoolgirls who shot dead the district magistrate of Komilla in December 1931. Beena Das, who fired point blank at the governor while receiving her degree at the convocation in February 1932. Reaction by the government. The government repressed the revolutionary activities severely. They even burned villages in Chittagong and punitive fines were imposed on many others. Even Jawaharlal Nehru was arrested for sedition in 1933. He was given 2 years sentence because he had condemned imperialism and praised the heroism of the revolutionaries. So that was all about different type of revolutionary activities emerging after the emergence of Mahatma Gandhi.